Afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. As David just said, we've got Murray from Squire Partners who's going to be talking about how they've used Twinmotion in their practice. But before we do that, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an intro into what Epic Games does, who we are, what we're all about. So I'm Rob Harrison. I look after the AEC business development business for EMEA, for AEC. And did want to extend my thanks to Lenovo for giving us the chance to do this session today. And also, just it's great to be back face-to-face, talking to you guys in person. And there's a number of familiar faces, so it's great to see you here today. If you didn't spot it, Epic had an event last Tuesday. It had its architectural build event. We had massive registration of about 18,000 people and around 7,500 to 8,000 attend on the day. We've released most of those customer videos already, but by the end of this week, we'll be releasing the full 90-minute video. So if you or colleagues didn't see that, if you go to the Epic Games YouTube channel, you'll find a recording of the build event, and you'll see my colleague David, who's sitting there, who spoke upstairs earlier, comparing that event. You will see one or two similar slides at the beginning to what David showed, but I think that's hopefully that will help to give us some continuity. So in terms of what we do, so Epic Games develops and publishes its own games. Some of you might remember things like Unreal Tournament and Gears of War, but more recently, probably the one that hits home is Fortnite. But as well as that, we license the Unreal Engine to other game developers who create and publish their games on our technology. And when the recent generation of consoles came out, I think 46% of the titles that were released were developed on Unreal Engine. And that puts us in a really unique position. So not only does that give us a great revenue opportunity, it creates this circle of development and iteration because our teams are invested in the fact that we are developing with the same technology that we're licensing to others. So it really drives that development cycle. But obviously it's not all about games. Many industries use Unreal Engine outside. So you have film and television, you have advertising, fashion, defense and simulation, automotive. So the usage of Unreal is pretty vast and broad at the moment. But the other thing that does is the demands of one industry often ends up helping teams that develop or produce content in other industries. So it might be something that was developed for automotive is then used by an architecture customer. So that coupled with the game development really gives us a strong development focus within the company. But it's not just about Unreal. A couple of years ago, Epic it was about games and Unreal, but more recently, we've brought on a technology called Twinmotion, and we've developed that product to be very much in sync with Unreal Engine. And the thing about Twinmotion, it's built on top of Unreal Engine, but it's made to be extremely easy to use and extremely fast. So we're seeing it being used by companies that are literally doing single extensions on single homes right up until firms that are doing projects that are city scale, large infrastructure projects and anything from any scale. So it's really about a tool that allows you to basically, anyone can use it for anything. But it's not just about Twinmotion and Unreal. We acquired a company called Qixel, which gives you, we have over 8,000 scanned assets that have been taken from all corners of the world that allow you to put them into your projects. We have reality capture that allows you to capture assets that might not exist in the library already and put them into your product or project. We have Sketchfab that allows you to publish to the web, and we have ArtStation, which is a platform where users can promote themselves or employers can go and find new people for their business. So hopefully that sort of summary gives you a bit of an idea about what Epic Games does. But what I wanted to talk about now is kind of before I hand over to Murray and see what they've been doing, talk about the 3 reasons why customers use Twinmotion. So first of all, it is that ease of use. Anyone can be up and running within a day. The second thing is speed. So it's really simple to use. It doesn't matter whether you're creating images, videos, VR, or panoramas. You can get those projects out the door literally in, it's super quick, and it's about storytelling. So the thing we're seeing with Twinmotion is that it's being used in the design phase as well as for the sort of sales and marketing and the hero shots. It's actually becoming a tool that's used for, design iteration and design review. The other thing that's important is that as the tool gets used more in the early stages, the connection to Unreal Engine means that work that you've done up front can then be exported to Unreal and used later on in the project. So it might be that a team does some early stage conceptual work and then that asset can be reused later on. So I'm just going to play this video. The sound is not on, but this just gives you an idea of some of the outputs that customers are getting from Twinmotion. So there you're seeing the trees that age over time. You're seeing some of the underground utilities that can be shown in. Obviously a helicopter, super important. But it's all really, it comes back to ease of use, speed, and the ability to tell a story. So that's probably just enough for me. If you do want to find out a little bit more, come and have a chat. We'll be upstairs until the end. But with that, I'm going to hand over to Murray and tell us what they've been up to. And Murray, again, thank you very much for offering to do this for us. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to fold your laptop down if that's right, because I've got a little few prompt notes here. Hi, everyone. Okay. Right, good afternoon. I'm Murray Levinson from Squire Partners. We're a London-based architectural practice, and as Rob said, I'm going to just run you through, I guess, our story of how we've been working within our CGI departments over recent times. And perhaps focus on a little bit of change as we've begun to adopt this quite exciting bit of software. I'm talking about Twinmotion, of course. Okay, so perhaps we might just play the video now. So this is a video kind of show reel which initially introduces some of our work and then goes on to show some of the projects that I can actually show you. And gives you a flavour of the work that we've been doing over the course of the last year or so. We've only really been using Twinmotion for a year, I'll just kind of keep talking while the video is going. So we work primarily in the commercial sectors. That means generally master planning all over the world. We have commercial workspace, large-scale residential, and hotel work. So that kind of encompasses the type of work that we do. And most of our projects are actually in London. Our mantra is something that we really want to apply to all of our projects in that we really think about how buildings are crafted and put together. And so the detailing and the choice of materials is really important. And we do a lot of work in investigating how technology can help us build modern contemporary buildings, but be inspired by more traditional construction methods. We invest a lot in technology in our office. Well, it certainly feels a lot when the bill comes at the end of the year. We have an in-house CGI and illustration team, which is about 16, 17 people, and they have traditionally been working with Max and V-Ray to produce our still images, and we've been doing in-house still images for a long time. But about 5 years or so ago, we began to, like most architectural practices, begin to embrace BIM, which means moving, of course, from CAD into 3D. And that was a massive learning curve for us. And I have to say that I think we're still on that curve. other architects may share the concerns and frustrations that we certainly have in using Autodesk and Revit. And we are still, in a way, trying to draw out the efficiencies that BIM is meant to give to the construction industry. So it's still a bit of a struggle to us, to be honest. Maybe we're just really bad at using the software. That's a possibility. But there was one benefit of us using Revit in our production of CGI, three-dimensional imagery for our projects, in that the architects were doing what they are good at doing, modelling the building, and that 3D model went to our in-house CGI team, and they began to do what they were good at doing, which is lighting and rendering and that sort of thing. So we came to a point a few years ago where we thought, great, we've cracked it. We're actually now beginning to get a little bit more efficient in the production of our imagery. But then there appeared to be, certainly amongst our contemporaries in London, a shift towards promoting your project in a kind of VR or a moving image scenario in a video. So the kind of goalpost moved again, and we've been thinking about how we keep up with our competitors, to be perfectly frank. The problem of the Studio Max and V-Ray combination when you are trying to do video is that it's incredibly slow and painful, and when we actually have been kind of put off producing moving images in relation to projects over recent years because of that problem. In certain instances, we've outsourced it because we just can't deal with it internally. But then the architect, who of course is the ultimate control freak, loses that inability to control what is going on if you've outsourced. So we needed to find another solution. In my lifetime, the world has got significantly more complicated, and there is definitely a kind of expectation that everyone has to embrace new technology. It's kind of weird, but it's like, well, it's just a sort of unwritten rule that one has to adopt. But fundamental to us really is our ability to communicate our designs, and we are communicating our designs to a whole vast variety of people in the process. It could be in a public consultation when you're talking to Mrs. Miggins, who lives next door. You're talking to a client one day who wants, a massive sort of big wow marketing image, which is completely opposite to what you present to the planners, because the planners always want your building to look completely invisible. There's always a challenge for the architect in relation to presenting their designs, and sadly, gone are the days where the architect can sit, in his ivory tower, produce a drawing, hand it to the builder or contractor, and he goes away and builds it. Design has become a massive shared event where you have to talk to everyone for years before you can actually settle on a design. That is enormously frustrating, but isn't the world a better place now that we talk to everyone? ? So we needed to find a tool that was fast and importantly could manage change effectively. So as I said, we chanced upon Twinmotion. We've only been working on it for a year or so, and as Rob said, the key feature for us that it is fast and that it provides us with instant real-time feedback for our models. It's really useful. I'm sure you guys know if you've used it. It's really useful in the early stages where one is kind of testing facade studies. We do a lot of work in bay studies, iterating, the proportion of glazing, what the window frame looks like, how deep is the stone reveal, how, what's the pattern of the brickwork. All of these things are modelled in Revit and dropped into Twinmotion and tested out because, buildings in the city, even though they're static, you're not, you're moving. And so this software allows one to give you that kind of the notion that you are moving past the three-dimensional object. The software we think is great in relation to the way it lights. Compared to the V-Ray, I'm not a user actually. I just do a bit of bossing around. But the guys tell me that it is much more intuitive in the way that it lights objects than perhaps V-Ray is. So that's really helpful to us. Certainly also at early stages, the software is really good at very quickly animating the space between buildings, because that's actually just as important as the buildings themselves. We're moving more towards using Twinmotion actually in the formal process of trying to convince the local authority that they should give us planning consent. In one of those examples, you saw a scheme that was actually in Brighton, where we had produced a series of buildings that were quite closely positioned together. Using the software and the way that light and shadow passes across the estate, we convinced the local authority that actually the spaces might work quite well, and give them confidence to give us a thumbs up. The software we think is great in creating a mood. Our job very often in the early stages of trying to win a project and a competition is that we have to create a vision to excite a client, and Twinmotion is really great at bringing an idea quickly to life. The final couple of points that I mean, you can see that we're quite positive about this software. I think the really the best products that are coming out from our office are when you've actually gone quite a long way in designing your building, and then you can bolt on the public realm and the people and the life and the activity using the kind of standard assets that are in the software. And when you link those two together, the movies that we're creating are kind of are good, and as I said, build confidence. I think it's, in a way, we like using the software early in the process, but it's a slight, this is probably a question maybe for Rob and developers, even though we're a small fish in the sea, that in the early stages, when you are in a competition mode or developing your ideas, you want to sell a vision, you don't quite know everything about your building, and there's a little jar that goes on if your building is very conceptual, but your landscape is trying to be realistic. Those two don't sit very well together. And maybe some of those movies you saw that we whited out the people and whited out the cars. It would be nice, perhaps, if there was a more dialed back conceptual palette of materials and assets that we could use to sit more comfortably with schemes that are in their concept stage. But yeah, I've probably gone too fast, but that's it.
No, great. Thanks, Murray.
Pleasure. Yeah, sure.
Any questions?
Hi there. Oh, very loud. My name is Tom Russell. I'm from Bennett's Associates. I'm just wondering, you talk about having a separate visualization team. Have you found now that you're using Twinmotion, the architects who are actually building the Revit models are integrating the rendering into their modeling? And because for us, we don't have a separate visualization company, but what this has done is empowered all the architects to be able to do real-time visualization and test options like on the fly. Is that something that you guys are doing as well?
Yeah, the quick answer is yes, and it is great that that facility is there for the whole office to use. It's very intuitive, and so there's not a sort of huge scariness that the Studio Max and V-Ray scenario has. And yeah, like you, we encourage that for sure. Go ahead.
Hi, Jonathan Ingram. Is your CGI team, are they developers? Are they coding people? Are they managers? What are they?
They are CGI guys. Some of them code, but primarily they are just using the software to illustrate our ideas. Any other questions?
I've got a related one. I think related to that question, really, to what extent were you able to just get up and running with that software, you know, versus perhaps a long training program? Yeah, how hard was it to get up to speed and to be using it effectively?
Yeah, it's surprisingly fast. I think a couple of our actually it came through one of the CGI guys. It came across the software, and we said, yeah, go for it. You know, have a trial. You know, any firm that's out there is always interested in seeing what's new to the market, and we were really impressed actually in some of the early stuff that the guys did, because there's an immediate wow to the software that is quite painful to achieve the wow in the Studio Max and V-Ray scenario. And I'm being a bit negative about it. Studio Max and V-Ray certainly has a place, but I think so does software like Twinmotion. Yeah. Anyone else?
Just to answer your question, so there is a non-photorealistic rendering style feature that's been added to Twinmotion recently. So you can just pick from a set of options just to immediately change the look to make it more stylized. So that may be something that's pretty recent. So it might be worth having a look at that.
Excuse me.
The other thing, just on the training side, we do offer. There's like a free.
Do you want to do the mic thing?
There's a free Twinmotion kind of quick start training module that we have on our website, which is, I think it's no more than 60 minutes, and basically by going through that you will be up and running with how to bring your data in from your CAD application in the best way, how to get the materials and the lighting looking right, and how to start adding in entourage and a bit of, you know, look and feel to your scene with people and cars and these kind of things. So really, it is something that people, you are able to get, you know, productive within a day with it. What have we got? Yeah, well, we're 2 minutes to go. Anything else before we close up? Well, thanks again for your time and for attending today, and thank you to Murray for talking on behalf of Squire Partners. Thanks, everyone.